Let's begin by offering our respects to ISKCON founder Acharya and our preeminent Shiksha Guru, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Ram
Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhano Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpa Taruvyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Please repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Okay, so we welcome all of you to our weekly Bhagavad Gita classes. Thank you all very much for joining. We have with us here Auntie Nita, Aja, Hema, Karuna, Kirtilata, Jagriti, Lal and Mehak Melwani. Then we have Manju, Neha, Rito Lalwani, Lavina, Saket. My parents are there. Then we have Shri Radhe Hari Devidasi and we have Barsha. Okay. So in the previous class, we started with chapter number
13.
13. Yes. What's the title of chapter 13?
It's the nature, the enjoyer, the conscious.
Exactly. Nature, the enjoyer, and consciousness. So the chapter began with Arjuna asking, what was he asking? The meaning of how many terms? 6 terms. Yeah, 6 terms, isn't it? Here, text 1 and 2 are clubbed together. And Arjuna wants to know What is Prakriti? What is Purusha? What is Kshetra? What is Kshetragya? What is Jnana? And what is Jnaya? And Krishna immediately he is replying starting to reply from the next verse itself, in verse 2. So out of these 6 questions, how many questions does Krishna answer?
6.
Two answers, third and fourth.
Yes, 2 answers, right? He's answering 2 and he's answering third and fourth. No, he's answering what is Kshetra and he's answering what is Kshetragya. He is not answering first what is Prakriti and Purusha. He's not answering in the same order in which Arjuna is asking the questions. Later we will discuss why. But now he's explained what is Kshetra and what is Kshetragya. So what is Kshetra? What did Krishna say?
Field.
It is the field of activities. So our body is the Kshetra. No, this body that we have, this material body is the Kshetra. It's the field of activities. Whatever activities we are doing in this particular body. So the body is the field of activities. And what is Kshetragya?
It's knower of the body.
Knower of
the field.
Body.
Knower of the field of activities, isn't it? So Kshetra means the field of activities, and the Kshetragya is the knower of the field of activities. So who is the knower of the field of activities? Did we discuss that or no?
The soul.
The soul. How come the soul is the knower of the activities? Because each living entity knows what is going on in his or her body. No?
Body.
Aches and pains. Suppose I have a headache. Then I know what is going on in my body. I know that something is not right in my body. So I am the knower of the body. But the soul is not the only knower of the body. That we will see as we proceed today. Who can read today?
I can read, Mataji.
Okay, thank you, Jagrati. Let's hear the verse.
Slok 3.
श्रीभगवानुवाच लोकेऽस्मिन् विविधा निष्ठा पुरा प्रोक्ता मया नघ ज्ञानयोगेन साङ्ख्यानां कर्मयोगेन योगिनाम्
O scion of Bharata, you should understand that I am also the knower in all bodies, and to understand this body and its knower is called knowledge. That is my opinion. Hare Krishna.
So now Krishna is saying that he is also the knower in all the bodies. So it's not that only the soul is the knower. Krishna is saying that he is also the knower. But Krishna, what is the difference between us and Krishna? We are the knower of our own individual bodies. We don't know what is going on in somebody else's body unless the person tells us, no? So we are the knower of our own bodies, but Krishna is the knower in all the bodies. Krishna knows what is going on in all the bodies because, of course, Krishna is God. And besides, he's also present in each body as the super soul, as the Paramatma. So Krishna is saying that he is also the knower in all the bodies. And now he's answering Arjuna's 5th question, Jnana. No, Arjuna's 5th question was what is Jnana? So Krishna is saying to understand this body and its knower is called knowledge. So Kshetra means the field of activities. Kshetragya means one who knows the field of activities. So there are 2 Kshetragyas. There are 2 knowers of the field of activities. One is the soul and the other is the super soul. And what is jnana? Jnana is one who understands the kshetra, one who knows the kshetra and the kshetragya. That is jnana. Jnana means to know the kshetra and the kshetragya. So here briefly he is explaining what is knowledge. He will explain in further detail as we proceed. We will see that in the upcoming verses. Then Krishna says, that is my opinion. He is saying that is my opinion. See, very interesting. Krishna says my opinion. He says that in other parts of the Gita as well. So one may wonder, why is Krishna saying my opinion? Because see, usually Prabhupada, if anybody would say, but Prabhupada would preach from the Shastra, of course. Then somebody would say, no, but in my opinion, so and so. Then Prabhupada would just blast the person, no, because he would say, what is the value of opinion? Nobody's opinion has any value. 100 people can have so many opinions, no, but the absolute truth is that which is written in the Shastra. The absolute truth is that which is coming from Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. So it's not important what somebody's opinion may be. No, somebody may have the opinion that it's okay to have a glass of whiskey every day. It's fine. It doesn't matter. Or so many other explanations people come up with, but opinions do not matter. What is important? What matters is only what is written in the Shastra, what is coming from Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. The Guru and Sadhu, of course, repeat only that which is written in the Shastra. But here, interestingly, Krishna is saying, this is my opinion. So we will discuss about this in the upcoming verses. Okay. So there is a second knower who is a knower of all the fields, that is the super soul. So, and what is the definition of knowledge? Arjuna's fifth question, to understand the body and its knower. So to understand the body and to know the super soul and the soul is called knowledge. So how is Krishna the knower? Because super soul is a plenary expansion of Krishna, Krishna says, I am also the knower. So the Paramatma who is there in each body is none other than Krishna. So that's the reason why Krishna is also the knower. But he is not the individual knower of the body. He is present in every body as the super knower. These are all points from the purport. So how to know the differences between the two knowers, the difference between the soul and the super soul. Soul is the individual knower and the super soul is the super knower. Super soul is the supreme proprietor of all the bodies, but the soul is only for one body. So analogy to understand this is how the citizen may be the proprietor of one land. One may be a citizen in a particular country and may own one particular plot of land or a certain home or a shop or whatever properties, no. But he is not the owner of everything that exists on that land. But the king is the proprietor of all the lands. So Supreme Lord is a supreme controller of the senses, Rishikesha. And we, the individual soul, we are only the secondary controller. The king is the original controller of all the activities. Citizens are the secondary controllers. One is fallible, the other is infallible. We can be defeated. No, the individual soul can be defeated. We can fall. But Krishna will not make mistakes. Krishna will never fall down. Krishna can never be defeated. One is subordinate, other is superior. So already, although both are kshetragyas, both are knowers of the field of activity, still there is a vast difference between the two kshetragyas. That's the whole point. So if you put both of them, so you say both are kshetragyas, so both are the same. The soul is equal to the super soul. We are equal to God. Then it is like equating the potent and the important. Krishna is all powerful. He is omnipotent, but we are not omnipotent. And Srila Prabhupada explains from the Vedic literatures, he quotes and he says how in the other Vedic literatures also it is mentioned that there are two knowers of the body. There are two kshetragyas. And then coming to knowledge. What is the definition of knowledge? Jnana is what? To study the subject matter of the field of activity and the knower of the field of activity very, very minutely. So again, here there is a refutation of how soul and super soul are not the same. So real knowledge is to know super soul as the controller of both the field of activities and the finite knowers, kshetra and kshetragya. That is knowledge. See, Srila Prabhupada writes this in the purport. One should not confuse the painter, the painting, and the easel. So, going by this analogy, who is the painter? Who is the painting? And what is the easel representing? Who can say?
Hare
think
Krishna.
painter is the super soul,
Okay, good.
and painting is soul. Oh no,
Yes, very nice.
and easel is knowledge.
No, not knowledge. We are all placed
No,
on
no.
where are we situated?
In the world,
In material
okay,
nature. No?
in
Yes, correct.
material nature.
Yes,
Okay.
correct. So we should not confuse the painter, the painting, and the easel. There is a difference between God, the living entity, and material
Okay.
nature.
Okay.
So one has to understand the position of Prakriti, nature, Purusha, the enjoyer of nature, and Ishvara, the knower who dominates or controls nature and the individual soul. So we should know the difference between Prakriti. Prakriti is material nature. So we are all in this material nature. And the Lord is dominating us. No? So this painter is, he paints according to what he here in this case, of course, the painter can paint whatever he wants, but we have to remember that this is a general statement. There is one thing, if you want to be more specific, what is the one thing that is not depicted in this analogy? That we all have our minute
Free will.
independence.
Free will.
No? Yes, free will. We all have our free will. We all have our minute independence. No, that is not depicted in this particular example. But of course, here we have to understand that here it's only a general example to understand the difference between Prakriti, Purusha, and Ishvara. The Lord is the supreme controller who dominates both Purusha and Prakriti.
न कर्मणामनारम्भाम् नैष्कर्म्यं पुरुषोऽश्नुते न च सन्न्यसनादेव सिद्धिं समधिगच्छति.
Translation.
That's not correct. That's not correct.
Now
The
please hear my
slokas,
brief.
Shlok 4.
yeah, but the shlokas are different, I think so.
The shlokas are different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even the third one was different. This is fourth one.
Oh, I have a problem with my audio player here. 1 second.
It's the Tatta Kshetram Yacha.
Yeah.
So now we are on 4, right?
4.
1 second. So 3 we didn't hear properly. Let's hear 3 again.
पुरा प्रोक्तानुवाच लोकेऽस्मिन् विविधा निष्ठा पुरा
That's not
प्रोक्ता
correct.
मया नघ ज्ञानयोगेन साङ्ख्यानां कर्मयोगेन योगिनाम्.
Oh, 1 second, 1 second. I'm on the wrong chapter. 1 second. I'm not able to play it from my...
Así es como hicimos que nuestro flujo de trabajo empiece.
1 second.
क्षेत्रेषु भारतं प्राहुः सिद्धि क्षेत्रज्ञ इति तद्विदः क्षेत्रज्ञं चापि मां विद्धि सर्वक्षेत्रेषु भारत क्षेत्रक्षेत्रज्ञयोर्ज्ञानं यत्तज्ज्ञानं मतं मम तत्क्षेत्रं यच्च यादृक् च यद्विकारि यतश्च स च यो यत्प्रभावश्च तत्समासेन मे शृणु.
Now, yes.
Both are correct.
Translation. Now please hear my brief description of this field of activity and how it is constituted. What its changes are, whence it is produced, who that knower of the field of activity is, and what his influences are.
So
Hare
now
Krishna.
Krishna is saying what is it that he's going to explain next. No, so this is like a summary verse of what is coming next. So what is Krishna saying? What is he going to explain? He's going to describe, and he says he's going to briefly describe, no, brief description. So he's going to briefly describe about the field of activity. So he's going to briefly describe more details about the kshetra, how it is constituted, what are the changes, whence it is produced, who is the knower of the field of activities, and what are the influences of the field of activities. So 5 points, no, 5 points. He's going to explain, he proposes to explain briefly how this body is constituted, what are the changes that the body undergoes, how, when, and where the body is produced, how to identify the knower of this body, how to identify the knower of the field of activities, and the influence of the knower of the field of activities, or the influence of the kshetragya, the influence of the knower of the body. So here I have put in brackets in which verses he explains which points. But anyway, we are going to see them. So let's see what he says.
ऋषिभिर्बहुधा गीतं छन्दोभिर्विविधैः पृथक् ब्रह्मसूत्रपदैश्चैव हेतुमद्भिर्विनिश्चितैः.
Translation: the knowledge of the field of activities and of the knower of activities is described by various sages in various Vedic writings. It is especially presented in Vedanta Sutra with all reasonings as to cause the effect. Hare Krishna.
So that knowledge of the field of activities and of the knower of activities is described by various sages in various Vedic writings. So Krishna is saying that what the knowledge that of that field of the kshetra and the kshetragya is also described by the various sages, where it is described in various Vedic writings. And here Krishna also is giving the reference where it is specifically presented in the Vedanta Sutra. Krishna is saying. So Krishna is here giving shastric evidence that what he is saying is also present in the Shastras, especially present in the Vedanta Sutras, and it is also described by various sages. Now, question: who is subordinate to who? Shastra is subordinate to Krishna, or Krishna is subordinate to Shastra?
Is Krishna subordinate to Shastras?
Okay, where is the Shastra coming from? What is the origin of all the Shastra?
Krishna.
So who is subordinate to whom?
Shastra.
Vedas, Shastras,
Shastra is subordinate to
Krishna.
Krishna, because all Shastra is coming from Krishna. Remember, at the dawn of creation, we have described how all this
Yes.
Vedic knowledge was passed down to Lord Brahma via the sound vibration of Krishna's flute. No, so whatever Krishna speaks, that is Shastra. No, he's the lawmaker. But even Krishna, although Krishna is superior, no, he's the highest authority on Vedic knowledge, even he is giving Shastric reference. Even he is giving Shastric reference. Although Shastra is subordinate to Krishna, what could be the reason? What is the reason that Krishna is giving Shastric evidence, although Shastra is subordinate to Krishna? What does a spiritual master speak from? Does a spiritual master speak his own rules and regulations, or the guru speaks from the Shastra, a bona fide guru?
A bona fide guru speaks from the Shastras.
Yes, a bona fide guru is one who speaks from the Shastras. He does not make his own rules and nobody can manufacture his own religion. No, religion is that which is already established as the absolute. Okay. Now Krishna is playing the role of to Arjuna, he's playing the role of a guru, or he's playing the role of God.
No, he's playing as a guru.
Guru.
Exactly. Krishna is playing the role of a guru because Arjuna said, please instruct me, please accept me as your disciple. So here Krishna is donning the hat of a spiritual master. And just as how a spiritual master gives shastric evidence, he speaks from the Shastra, he also gives shastric evidence. In the same way, Krishna also is doing the same. Actually, he does not need to do it because he's got whatever Krishna speaks, that is law. No, but Krishna is donning the hat of a spiritual master, and therefore he is also providing evidences from the same. See, Srila Prabhupada states the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna is the highest authority in explaining this knowledge. Still, as a matter of course, learned scholars and standard authorities always give evidence from previous authorities. Krishna is explaining this most controversial point regarding the duality and non-duality of the soul and the super soul by referring to a scripture, the Vedanta, which is accepted as authority. So this is a very, very controversial subject matter, no, the duality and non-duality of the soul, because many transcendentalists will argue that the soul uh, and the super soul are one. We can become God. We are equal to God. It's just that our potency, our power is now hidden because we are under the modes of material nature. But once we can overcome the modes of material nature, then we become equal to God. We can also become equal to Krishna, Ram, like that. No? That's the Mayavad philosophy. So this is a very, very controversial subject matter. And here Krishna is clearly explaining the difference between the soul and the super soul, between the living entity, the Jiva and Bhagavan. And he's doing this by referring to a scripture, the Vedanta. Now, what are the Vedanta Sutras? Vedanta Sutra. Vedanta means Veda Anta.
Veda.
Anta means conclusion and Veda means Veda. So Vedanta means the conclusion of all the Vedas. And Sutra means code language, no? Code language. So all the Vedas, they are explained in code language, in one-liners, no? One-liners, so that the huge voluminous philosophy can be condensed and presented in a shorter form. So it is in code language. So Vedanta Sutra is the conclusion of all the Vedas. Now, Srimad Bhagavatam is a natural commentary on the Vedanta Sutra, which was composed by Srila Vyasadeva. So here Krishna is saying Vedanta Sutra. See, Vedanta Sutras are in code language. Therefore, it's difficult for one to understand. One should be expert in understanding this knowledge to be able to understand Vedanta Sutra. So therefore, to make it easy, then Srila Vyasadeva, he composed the Bhagavatam, which is a natural commentary on the Vedanta Sutras. So anyway, this is the reason you can see how Krishna is presenting the Shastra as evidence, because he's donning the hat of a spiritual master. And this is the reason why previously he said, this is my opinion. He said, this is my opinion. And then he's saying, look, what I'm saying is also there in the Shastra. What I'm saying is also confirmed by the other great authorities, by the other various sages. So this is the connection. See, in the purport, Prabhupada explains the 5 coverings of consciousness. So to understand that, let's try to understand this. The Vedic system by which one progresses in self-realization are divided into 2. One is a direct method and the other is indirect method. Direct method, of course, is hearing from Guru, Sadhu and Shastra, which we have discussed many times. But there is also an indirect method. The indirect method are of 2, Vyasti and Samasti. So Vyasti means from individual to universal, and Samasti means from universal to individual. Now, what does that mean? See, let's read here. There are basically 2 Vedic systems by which one progresses indirectly in self-realization. One is called Vyasti. Now, what is this Vyasti system? A person directs his meditation towards the self and thus seeks to understand the absolute by considering himself a fragment of the Supreme. For example, we can study the nature of the entire ocean by scrutinizing a drop. So Vyasti system is like you study the drop of water in the ocean and then you see what is the composition of that drop of water. What is the nature of that drop of water? What are the different minerals it contains? And then you draw the conclusion that the entire ocean has these minerals which are contained in this drop of water. So Vyasti means from individual to universal. So one may study that, okay, I have a form. So therefore, God also has a form. No? So Vyasti means from individual to universal. Now, the second indirect method is called Samasti. In Samasti, one studies the entire universe, considering it as the body of the Supreme. So the whole universe is studied while considering the whole universe as the body of the Lord. So that is from universal to individual, because you're studying the whole universe as the body of the Lord. Now, in this, in the purport, Prabhupada is addressing the Vyasti system. Now, in this Vyasti system, there are 5 sheets or coverings of consciousness. What are the coverings of consciousness? Annamaya, Pranamaya, Jnanamaya, Vijnanamaya, and Anandamaya. Okay, but before that, we see Lavina, you have raised your hand.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to know. I was not able to understand the Samasti, this thing. Can you explain?
So Samasti system means one is studying the whole universe. How do you draw conclusions of the entire universe? You consider the whole universe to be the body of the Supreme. Like for example, when we saw the universal form, no, we saw that how the eyes and the moon are the eyes of the universal form of the Lord, like that. So the whole universe is considered to be the body of the Lord, like that. It is complicated, but we don't need to go into many details. It's not important for devotees because we don't have to do all these things. No, we just chant Hare Krishna and we are happy. It is very technical, but I put it here because Srila Prabhupada is actually explaining in the purport the 5 coverings. So how to understand these 5 coverings? Therefore, I put these other details here. But it's enough for us to know in Vyasti system, the study is from individual to universal. In Samasti system, is from the universal, we draw conclusion to the individual. In the universal, we see the whole universe as the universal form of the Lord. That's all. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
So the sheets or coverings, no, so the consciousness has different coverings. So what are these different coverings? Annamaya, Pranamaya, Jnanamaya, Vijnanamaya, and Anandamaya. Now we will see these in details. What are these sheets or koshas? So these are the different coverings of the consciousness of the living entity. So the original consciousness of the living entity is pure consciousness. No, the jiva, the soul, his original consciousness is pure consciousness. There is no contamination. But then when we are in this material world, then there are different coverings. No, the consciousness is covered by different level. There are different levels of consciousness. So they are 5. Now what are they? First, we will see what is Annamaya. Anna means what?
Food.
Food, yes. So Annamaya, the first covering, is the most primitive form of consciousness. In this consciousness, we view everything as food. Everything is seen as food. So this is mostly in the animalistic kingdom. For example, if a tiger sees a very fat person, the tiger is only seeing that there is more food, there is more flesh in this person. If a tiger sees a very thin person, he is going to think that, oh, there is very little flesh, there is very little food. So the whole consciousness of the tiger is only food, what is there in the food. But a human being may look at a fat person in a different way, at an obese person a different way. Maybe he sees that this person is very talented. No, the particular person may be very obese, but probably that person is a very talented musician. He may be very talented a comedian or a very good actor, like that. We may see the talent in the person. We are not only seeing the obesity or how much flesh is there in the body. So the consciousness for a human being may be different, but a tiger sees an obese person as more food, more food and less food, like that. So the whole consciousness is of the person is that views everything as food. Food is the supreme object of realization. That consciousness does not go beyond food. Such a consciousness makes no distinction between that which is alive and that which is not alive. One with such an understanding has no awareness of his own existence as separate from the existence of all else. His self-concept is most basic at the existential level. In other words, he just wants to He lives to eat. He lives to eat. The whole consciousness is about anna, about food. Everything he sees as food. Okay, so he's only at that existential level. So consciousness of a young child or amoeba, even the consciousness of a young child is that now whatever is there, the child will put in the mouth because for him everything is food. So this is Anna Maya. It's the first sheath of covering, first kosha. So Srila Prabhupada explains in the Krishna book, in the beginning of life, every living entity is food conscious. As a child or an animal is satisfied only by getting nice food. This stage of consciousness in which the goal is to eat sumptuously is called Anna Maya. Anna means food. So now you tell me, in this Annamaya consciousness, what is involved? The gross body, the subtle body, the soul, the super soul, what is involved?
Gross body.
Gross body, yes, exactly. Only the gross body, because the whole consciousness is only about food. And in which mode is this? Is this the mode of ignorance? Is this the mode of passion, mode of goodness, or the transcendental mode of goodness? Which mode is this?
Ignorance.
Mode of ignorance, yes, mode of ignorance. Very nice. Now let us go to pranamaya. Now the consciousness is more advanced. Now it's not only about food, but it is about surviving, no? Survivance. One wants to survive. One wants to be alive. Prana means life. So realizing the supreme absolute truth in living symptoms or life forms, one seeks to preserve his life. When we come to the stage of pranamaya, our consciousness advances to an awareness of and an identification of our own active life symptoms. So it's not just about food, it's about we want to survive, we want to live. In the jungle, what is the rule? Survival of the fittest. So they are not only conscious of I want to get food, but they're also conscious of I want to save myself from being attacked by the wild animals. So the animals are taking the proper precaution of not going to a place where the tigers are are present or saving themselves, or any kind of defense mechanism that may have, like the tortoise, for example. The tortoise has a natural defense mechanism of how withdrawing the limbs. As soon as it sees a danger, the tortoise will withdraw its limbs so that the wild animals cannot attack the tortoise. So like that, the consciousness here is I want to survive, I want to live. We thus see the external world according to a unifying principle of survival. Again, this realization or level of self-identification is provided by the absolute truth. Materialistic human society more or less exists only on this primitive level of realization. So the human society mostly is on this pranamaya stage. I want to survive. I want to survive. So there is cutthroat competition in our jobs, in our companies. I want to survive. I should have a good salary. I should be able to live my life. So after this, Annamaya. So after Annamaya comes Pranamaya. So after Annamaya, one lives in the consciousness of being alive and can continue his life without being attacked or destroyed. One thinks that he is happy. This stage is called Pranamaya. This is the reason why, because the materialistic human society is mostly at this level of Pranamaya. We like to insurance. We like to insure our belongings, our homes, our wealth, our properties, because we want to live, we want to survive. So this is called pranamaya, or consciousness of one's existence. So now you tell me, this is at which this includes a gross body, subtle body, soul, or super soul?
Subtle body.
Subtle body.
Subtle body? Pranamaya existing.
Gross body.
Gross body, it involves the gross body. And which mode it is? Mode of goodness, passion, or ignorance?
Passion.
Or passion, yes, passion, because it's all about survival. I want to survive at any cost. So here you're in the mode of passion. Then Jnanamaya is the third stage. In Jnanamaya, realization extends beyond the living symptoms to the point of thinking, feeling, and willing. So previously it was just I want to survive at any cost, no? But here one stops to think, what am I doing? Why am I doing what I am doing? How do I feel when I do what I want to do? So here the emotions are coming into place. So one appreciates the subtle interactions of mind and intelligence, emotions, aesthetics, etc. as the ultimate object of realization. At Jnana Maya, the concept of self expands to awareness of our own thinking, feeling, and willing. We then see everything in relation to that. Ramanujacharya explains that the Taittiriya Upanishad's use of the Jnanamaya platform refers only to those civilized human beings who follow Vedic culture. So only those civilized human beings who follow Vedic culture stop to think, why am I hankering so much after all this wealth? What is it that I want? Why am I here? What is my why is it that I fear death? Why is it that I don't want to grow old? Why is it that I do not want to die? No, or have any disease. So one stops to think. No, one stops to think. Because one possessing this level of consciousness acts and perceives everything in relation to Vedic knowledge, this consciousness is called as Jnana Maya. So Srila Prabhupada explains in the Krishna book. After this, after the Pranamaya stage, when one is situated on the mental platform, his consciousness is called Mano Maya. So Jnana Maya is also called as Mano Maya because it involves the mind. It has thinking, there are emotions involved. So now which body? Gross body, subtle body, soul or super soul?
Subtle body.
Why subtle body?
Because mind is involved.
Yes, the mind is, the subtle body is made up of mind, intelligence, and false ego. So here, because there are emotions, feelings are there, the mind is involved, and the mind is situated in the subtle body. What is the address of the mind? The mind is located in our subtle body. So now you have the subtle body coming in. So, and which mode of material nature? It is
The
the
intelligence.
Huh?
Intelligence.
No, which mode? Mode of goodness, mode of passion, or mode of ignorance?
Mode of goodness.
It's mode of
Mode
goodness.
of goodness. It is the beginning. It is just the beginning of the mode of
beginning.
goodness, because at least one is stopping to think why. No, why? He's asking the pertinent questions, the very important questions. So it is the beginning of the mode of goodness. Then Vijnanamaya. After Jnana is Vijnana. What is Vijnanamaya? Realization which the living entity mind and life symptoms are distinguished from the living entity himself, to realize the self as different from the field of activity, including the subtle body. So here you realize the self means you realize that you are not the field of activity. You realize that you are not this body. You realize that you are not what you see in the mirror. One realizes that I am the soul. No, I am the spirit soul. And this is the reason why the soul, the soul never dies. And this is the reason why we do not want to die. The soul doesn't grow old. The soul doesn't get any disease. This is the reason why we do not like to grow old. We do not like to get any disease. So to realize the self as different from the body, to realize that I am the soul, I am not this body. So that is this Vijnanamaya stage. Thus, the soul itself becomes the ultimate object of realization. Srila Prabhupada explains again in Krishna book, if by the evolutionary process of philosophical life, one happens to reach the platform of intellectual life and understand that he is not this material body, but a spirit soul, then he is situated in the Vijnanamaya stage. So now, gross body, subtle body, soul, super soul. What is being involved here?
Soul.
Soul, isn't it? Because here one realizes that we are spirit soul.
Does this mean that they transcend the three modes too?
To transcend the three modes, one has to come to the next level. We will come to that. Okay. Right now, he is only realizing that he is the soul. But to transcend, one also has to realize the
Super soul.
super soul. Exactly. Yes. So that is the last stage. Vijnanamaya leads to Anandamaya.
Okay,
So
yeah.
now he's entering into the field of transcendental mode of material nature. No, previously he was entering into it was the beginning of the mode of goodness. Here he is
Goodness.
beginning to enter into the field of transcendence, transcendental mode of material nature. Here it begins. Now, the last stage, Anandamaya, supreme stage of realization of all blissful nature. Ananda means bliss, no? So, this is the supreme stage of realization of all blissful nature. One realizes the distinction between the self and the supreme self. One understands that I am the servant and the Lord is the master. So one realizes the difference between us and the Lord. And when we understand the difference between us, the living entity, and the Lord, then we enter into a blissful, loving relationship. Now we have a loving relationship with the Lord. So in order for us to become fully self-realized, one has to realize completely that we are the servants of the Lord. And servant means one has to serve. And so when one renders loving devotional service, then that is the key to the kingdom of God. That is the key to going back home, back to Godhead. So Anandamaya stage. So this involves what? Soul, super soul, gross body, subtle body.
Super soul.
Super soul and
Soul, yes, super soul.
Yeah.
Because one realizes the difference between the self and the supreme self.
Super soul.
So Srila Prabhupada explains, then by evolution and spiritual life, one comes to the understanding of the Supreme Lord or the Supreme Soul. When one develops his relationship with him and executes devotional service, that stage of life is called Krishna consciousness, the Anandamaya stage. So this Anandamaya stage is what Krishna consciousness is all about. Anandamaya is the blissful life of knowledge and eternity. So here
so
you have
just
a summary.
stage where you transcend the three modes.
Yes, most definitely. So Annamaya, awareness of food, Pranamaya, awareness of one's own active life symptoms. So one wants to survive. Here one wants to only eat good food. Here one wants to survive, no? And so see, when one is in awareness of food, if you say, like say people who only want to see food that is tasty and delicious, they will enjoy, they will eat. But here in Pranamaya, one wants to eat healthy food, no? Something may be very tasty, but not so healthy. They would still prefer that food, no? So awareness is we want to survive. So here he is not only thinking about tasty food, but he wants to have healthy food because he wants to survive. He wants to live. Jnanamaya, awareness of one's own thinking. So here one stops to think, what is it that I am doing? Why is it that I want to eat healthy? Why is it that I want to live a long life? No, one stops to think. So here you bring in the emotions. Then you realize, oh, the reason why I want to live long, the reason why I want to eat healthy, the reason why I do not want to get diseases because I am the spirit soul. And the spirit soul does not die, does not get any disease. So that is Vijnanamaya. Then Anandamaya, okay, I am the spirit soul. So who is my master? Where have I come from? How did I come into existence? And how come I am in this material world? If I am not, if the soul does not die, no, if I am not supposed to get any disease, I'm not supposed to die. Why is it that death is forced upon me? Why is old age forced upon me? Why am I forced to get any disease? So then one understands that, okay, actually I'm coming from the super soul, from Krishna. No, I'm a part and parcel of Krishna. I'm coming from him. But I am here because I disobeyed God, because I wanted to be equal to God. I wanted to enjoy independent of him. So then that awareness comes in Annamaya stage. So this is the stage. So these three stages, Annamaya, Pranamaya, Jnanamaya, are still at the material level of consciousness. Vijnanamaya leads to Anandamaya, and Anandamaya leads one to the kingdom of God. See, Srila Prabhupada writes in the Krishna book, the materialistic civilization is primarily situated in these three stages, Annamaya, Pranamaya, and Manomaya. So these three, the first three are materialistic. The first concern of civilized persons is economic development. The next concern is defense against being annihilated. And the next consciousness is mental speculation, the philosophical approach to the values of life. As long as the living entities are situated in the lower 4 stages of life, Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, and Vijnanamaya. Remember, Manomaya is also Jnanamaya. So as long as he is situated in these 4 stages, they are considered to be in the material condition of life. But as soon as one reaches the stage of Anandamaya, he is a liberated soul. This Anandamaya stage is explained in the Bhagavad Gita as the Brahma Bhuta stage. There it is said that in the Brahma Bhuta stage of life, there is no anxiety and no hankering. So when one is completely in Krishna consciousness, even if you are in the material world, there will be no anxiety and no hankering because one is situated in Krishna consciousness, even though one may be present in the material world. So there is no anxiety and no hankering. This stage begins when one is equally disposed towards all the living entities. So one sees everyone as a servant of Krishna. One sees that the super soul is present in the heart of every living entity. One sees that the super soul is present in the heart of every insect, every animal, every bird, no, every aquatic. Therefore, a Vaishnava does not want to harm even a small ant. This stage begins when one is equally disposed towards all living entities, and it then expands to the stage of Krishna consciousness, in which one always hankers to render service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So here, Kshetra includes gross body and subtle body. Anandamaya, Pranamaya are including the gross body. Jnanamaya includes the subtle body. Whereas Kshetragya, the knower, no, the individual soul and the super soul, they are the two knowers of the body. They are the two Kshetragyas. So Vijnanamaya and Anandamaya are the Kshetragyas, the individual soul and the super soul. But the Kshetra or the field of activities or the body includes the body. Of course, we know that there are two bodies, gross and subtle bodies. So the first 3 sheets, no, the first 3 sheets or the first 3 koshas, the Anandamaya, Pranamaya, and Jnanamaya are the Kshetras. This is the reason why we have brought up these sheets in this particular subject matter. This is the connection.
Mataji, you said something about mental speculator. You read something about mental speculator. That is also in Vijnanamaya. No, right? Or you read this sentence, the mental speculation.
That's what Prabhupada writes in his Krishna book. Where is it? Where is that line?
Oh, I can't see. Mental speculation. Consciousness is mental speculation. The first concern of civilized person is economic development for the next concern in defense against the being annihilated, and the next consciousness is
Jnanamaya is mental speculation. So there, say in Jnanamaya, one realizes that one is a soul, but one does not realize that one is a servant of the Supreme Soul. So here there can be mental speculation, Jnana. Vijnana is where one understands that I am the servant of the Lord.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, 6 and 7 are clubbed together.
महाभूतान्यहङ्कारो बुद्धिरव्यक्तमेव च इन्द्रियाणि दशैकं च पञ्चचेन्द्रियगोचराः इच्छा द्वेषः सुखं दुःखं सङ्घातश्चेतनाधृतिः एतत् क्षेत्रं समासेन सविकारमुदाहृतम्.
Translation. The 5 great elements, false ego, intelligence, the unmanifested, the 10 senses and the mind, the 5 sense objects, desire, hatred, happiness, distress, the aggregate, the life symptoms and convictions. All these are considered in summary to be the field of activities and its interactions. Hare Krishna.
So what is the field of activities composed of? What is the Kshetra composed of? No? And what are the interactions of these different elements of the field of activities? That is what Krishna is explaining in 6 and 7. So the field of activities or the Kshetra or material nature is composed of 24 elements. What are the 24 elements? The 5 great elements. Now what are the 5 great elements? What are the 5 gross elements?
Senses.
Earth, water, fire,
Earth,
and
water,
air.
Yes, earth,
Ether.
water, fire, air, and ether. Very nice. So now we are going to see the 24 elements that material nature is composed of. So the 5 great elements, 5. Then we have the false ego, ahankara. So what is false ego? Any identification with the body is false ego. I am man, I am woman, I am Indian, I am American, I am Hindu, I am Christian. These are all bodily identifications. The soul is not within these bodily identifications. So that is called as false ego. Any identification which makes me identify with the body, that is false ego, ahankara. So the 5 great elements plus 1 false ego, 6. Then intelligence. See here, we know the subtle body is made up of mind, intelligence, and false ego. So here is the intelligence, buddhi. Then the unmanifested. Now, what is this unmanifested? Unmanifested, let's see the Sanskrit here is avyaktam. Avyaktam, unmanifested. Now, to understand this unmanifested, we have to understand a little bit about creation. Now, we know that the material world is a dark cloud in one corner of the spiritual sky. So, the spiritual sky, of course, is unlimited. So, this is the spiritual sky. You can see Goloka is here, which is in the form of a lotus. The petals of the lotus, I mean, the spiritual sky is in the form of a lotus. The petals of the lotus are the Vaikuntha planets. One small corner of the spiritual sky is a dark cloud-like substance. Dark cloud-like substance. Now, this dark cloud-like substance, which is one corner of the spiritual sky, is initially in the unmanifested stage. Unmanifested stage. Later, it comes into existence. Later, it gets not into existence, but it gets activated. No, if we can use that word, activated. Later, it gets activated when the Lord, when Mahavishnu glances at material nature. When Mahavishnu glances at material nature, then he's activating that material nature. So what's happening here? Mahavishnu, by his breathing, is creating universes. Now, all this is happening within this dark cloud. Okay, remember all this that we are going to see in the upcoming slides is happening in this dark cloud, which is one small corner of the spiritual sky. So what is happening there? Mahavishnu, he is breathing and he is creating all these universes from the different pores of his skin. So millions and millions of universes are being produced. Then what happens? These universes enter the material energy Maya, which is on the other side of the Viraja river or the causal ocean. So this Viraja river is demarcating. It flows between the spiritual and the material worlds. No, it's an in-between thing that is flowing between the material and the spiritual worlds. So these are entering into the other side of the causal ocean or Viraja river, and as they enter, they grow in size. So they are becoming big and big as they enter into the other side of the causal ocean. So you can see this. He's creating the universes, and then they are going into this other side of the Viraja river. Now, then what happens? Then they are covered by 5 great elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. So now this universe is being covered by these 5 gross elements. These universes are created during the exhalation of the Lord. So when Mahavishnu breathes out, he's creating these universes. So where do you get all this information from? From the Brahma Samhita. It's there on your Veda base. You can go to your Veda base and check out these Shastric codes about how this thing is happening, how this creation is taking place. Then what happens? Mahavishnu glances at the material energy. Up to this point, material energy is inert or inanimate. It is sometimes called as pradhana. During the pradhana stage, all the elements are inert, undifferentiated, and unmanifest. So it is in the inactivated state. In other words, it is in the inactivated state. Just like how, see, when we buy a new chip for the cell phone, we have to activate that chip to be able to start making the phone calls. Before that, it is in the inactivated state. So this is very much like that. Pradhana means the material nature in the inactivated state. Now what happens? Mahavishnu is glancing at material nature, and his glance takes the form of Shambhu. His glance takes the form of Shambhu. Then, because of that, the jivas, along with their karma, now each jiva has their past karmic balance. So the jivas, along with their karma, they are transferred into this material world. See, by the Lord's glance, he impregnates material nature with the living entities. The personality Shambhu, Lord Shiva, assists the Lord by transferring the jivas into the material energy. The Lord does not touch material nature. He does so via Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva's abode is on the edge of the Viraja river. So this is the difference between Krishna and Lord Shiva. See, Brahma Samhita explains how Lord Shiva is yogurt and Lord Krishna is milk. From milk, we can make yogurt, but from yogurt, we cannot make milk. But essentially, the quality is the same. The reason why is because Lord Shiva is coming in touch with material nature. So, God coming in touch with material nature makes him not fully Vishnu Tattva, but neither is he fully Jiva Tattva. Lord Brahma is Jiva Tattva. No, he is a living entity. He is a Devata, a demigod. But Lord Shiva is in his own tattva because he is in between the material and the spiritual. Only because Lord Shiva is coming in touch with material nature, he is not completely Vishnu tattva. He is not completely the supreme personality of Godhead. Now, this Lord Shiva does, of course, to facilitate creation. To facilitate creation. But Mahavishnu, Krishna, he never touches material nature. He never touches material nature. Therefore, he is the supreme personality of Godhead. He is Vishnu Tattva. So we have Vishnu Tattva, then we have Lord Shiva who is in his own Tattva, and then we have Jiva Tattva, which is all the living entities, starting from Lord Brahma. Yeah, Lavina, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, that means even how Brahma has 100 means his own period. In Shiva has his own period, or he's
Okay, so there are different Rudras. There is not only one Lord Shiva. That's the whole point. There are different Rudras. There are different Lord Shivas. There is one Lord Shiva even in the Vaikuntha planets. Even in the Vaikuntha planets, there is one form of Lord Shiva who's like, he is called as Sada Shiva. So he is eternal because he is in the Vaikuntha planets. Okay, but there is very little information available on more details about that Sadashiva. You will not find information in the Shastra. Okay, so there are different Rudras. There is one who is in the Vaikuntha planets, he is eternal, but there are other Rudras which are not completely in the spiritual world. They are here, so one cannot say that they are completely spiritual. It's unlike Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma, there is only one Lord Brahma. Every universe has only one Lord Brahma. And he lives for 100 years and then his period is finished. But Rudra, there are 11 Rudras.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that means Shiva, which is in between Vishnu, Krishna, and like Jivas. So even he will die, or
no, he will not die because he is not a devata. He is not a demigod.
Oh, achha.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Lord Shiva is almost the supreme personality of Godhead. Almost. Only he is coming in touch with material nature for creation. Therefore, he is not fully the supreme personality of Godhead. That's the difference between Krishna and Lord Shiva, according to Shastras. If you read Brahma Samhita, you will see these details. It's there in your database. Brahma Samhita, only one chapter is available to us. Everything else we have lost, unfortunately, because of the influence of time. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he had traveled to one temple in South India, and there he found this particular chapter of Brahma Samhita. It was there in this ancient temple, and then he copied it down with his hand. He copied it down with his hand, and then it was distributed. No, that's how we have this particular chapter of Brahma Samhita. Other chapters we don't have access to anymore. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So this Brahma Samhita was actually translated by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the spiritual master of Srila Prabhupada. So if you read, actually, it's not so easy to understand Brahma Samhita. It's in a very refined language. I mean, with Kali Yuga, our brains are becoming less and less, no? We are less intelligent. So if you read Brahma, at least I cannot understand Brahma Samhita. It's hard to understand. Anyway. Now what's happening? At this point, all the golden universes are covered by the 5 elements. So at this point, the universes are covered by the 5 elements, the 5 gross elements, earth, water, fire, air, and ether. And there are 18 other inanimate elements waiting to act. So there are other 18 elements which are waiting to act. So they are not yet activated. So this material nature in the inactivated state, no, the bottom line, we are going into so many details, but the bottom line is the material nature in the inactivated state is called pradhana. It's called pradhana. When it is in the activated state, it becomes prakriti. See. Nothing moves. So these other 18 elements are waiting to act. They are not yet activated. The only thing has happening here is that the universes are covered by the 5 gross elements. Now nothing moves until the original controlling deity of each of these elements in each universe prays to Lord Mahavishnu to help in creation. He then impregnates time into the material energy. So now he is impregnating time into the material energy. With the impregnation of time, material nature becomes prakriti. So now it is in the activated state. So when material nature in the inactivated states becomes activated, then it goes from being pradhana to prakriti. And then it transforms to mahatattva. So the 3 stages of matter are compared to a woman. Pradhana stage, who is impregnated, Prakriti stage, and then delivered Mahatattva stage. So in the inactivated state, it is Pradhana, which is just a woman. Then the woman is impregnated. So now the material nature is impregnated, is activated, that is called as a Prakriti stage. And when the whole thing gets rolling, working, functioning, then there is delivery. No? So that is called as the Mahatattva stage. So coming back to here.
8.
No, 6. We are still on 6, 7. The 5 great elements, then false ego, intelligence, the unmanifest. So unmanifested means the pradhana stage. Okay, the material, that dark cloud in the inactivated state. Krishna is saying the unmanifested. Then we have the 10 senses and the mind. So what are these 10 senses? We have 10 working senses and 10 knowledge acquiring senses. Knowledge acquiring senses are those senses by which we acquire knowledge. So with the eyes, we see something and we acquire knowledge. Okay, this is red color. No, this is a liquid, like that. So we are acquiring knowledge with these senses: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, touch. Then there are 5 working senses: the voice, the legs, the hands, the evacuating organs, and the reproductive organs. So these are the 10 senses. Krishna says here, see. The 10 senses and the mind. The mind is the most important. It is around this that all the other senses are revolving. So the mind. And then you have the 5 sense objects. What are the 5 sense objects? The 5 sense objects are form, sound, smell, taste, and touch. So sense objects means because of the taste the object has, the senses are able to experience that object of the senses. Because of the taste, the tongue is able to realize what is the particular taste in that food. No? So these are the objects of the senses: form, sound, smell, taste, and touch. So how many do we have here? Do we have 24? 5, this is 6, 7, 8 unmanifested, then 10 senses, 18, mind is 19, then 19 plus 5, 24. So we have the 24 elements of material nature. So these are the 24 elements of material nature. Here we have another list, 24 elements of material nature. Now, because of the interactions of these 24 elements, we have pleasure, pain, desire, and hatred. So these are the happening because of the interactions of all these 24 objects. See, what does Krishna say here? Desire, hatred, happiness, and distress. Icha, dvesha, sukham, and dukham. So these are all happening because of the interactions of these 24 elements. We have desire in our heart, we have hatred, we have happiness, we have distress. The aggregate, the life symptoms, and convictions. Convictions are something that we believe something, so and so is good, so and so is bad. For example, I may think my neighbor is bad, my neighbor may think that I am bad. So we all have certain convictions, certain life symptoms. We all have consciousness. No, consciousness. See, of course, we know that the soul's consciousness is pure consciousness, but here in the material world, we develop contaminated consciousness. So because of the interaction of these elements, we are developing other consciousness. No, so like that, because of these interaction of the 24 material elements, we have these other results that are happening. So 6 and 7, Krishna is explaining the 24 elements. And in 6, Krishna is explaining the 24 elements. And 7, he's talking about what happens when the 24 elements are interacting with each other. As a result, what is happening? So desire, hatred, happiness, distress, the aggregate, the life symptoms, and convictions, all these are considered in summary to be the field of activities and its interactions. So here basically Krishna is explaining what is Kshetra, what is this body composed of. So you have these 24 elements. Very technical. As I said, this chapter is a very, very technical chapter, but we don't have to worry about all these technicalities, because bhakti basically is very simple. We just chant and be happy. So don't worry about all these technicalities. Devotees don't have to worry about all these things. Remember, this is the Jnana section of the Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so these we have already discussed. Now we discussed desires. Now there are two kinds of desires, material and spiritual. We saw no Icha, Dvesha. Because of the interaction of the 24 elements, there is Icha, so there is desire. So let's talk about desires. Now, desires we get in connection with material energy are material desires. Because of the interaction of these 24 material elements, Krishna is saying that there are desires. So we are getting these material desires because we are in connection with material energy. Okay. But now desires can also be spiritual. Desires can also be spiritual. So where are we getting the spiritual desires from?
From soul.
From soul. So we are getting it from the soul because
of the connection with the spiritual energy.
Yes, see, the soul by itself, it's completely pure. So it's natural, it is inbuilt. It is inbuilt, it is just naturally there in us. No, it is already there in us. It is not that we are it's not an artificial imposition. No. So Srila Prabhupada explains Krishna consciousness is not an artificial imposition on the mind. It is the original energy of the living entity. It is the original original energy of the living entity. So imposed condition is enjoyment. That is imposed upon us, that we want to enjoy material nature. We want to enjoy independent of Krishna. But our natural condition is that we are servant of Krishna. That is our original constitutional natural position. Jivera Swarupahai Krishnera Nitya Dasa. This is what is our Swarupa, our original condition, Swarupa of the Jiva. What is the original Rupa condition of the Jiva? Is that we are Krishna's Nitya Dasa. We are eternal servants of Krishna. That's it. If we can just realize this and act on this, then that is the success of our human life. It is a success of our human life. It is a living entity's constitutional position to be an eternal servant of Krishna. So there are changes of the body. There are 6 in number. So remember, Krishna said that he is going to explain all these different things about the Kshetra. So now in the purport, Prabhupada is explaining the changes of the body. There are 6 changes in the body. What are the 6 changes? The body is born, it grows, it stays, it produces byproducts, then there is decay, and then it vanishes. So the body is born, there is birth, then there is growth. Then it stays for some time, it maintains for some time. Then it produces byproducts. What are the byproducts of the body?
The children.
The children, yes, the children. Then it begins to decay. There is old age, and at last it vanishes. That means it is death. So these are the 6 changes of the kshetra, the 6 changes of the body. Now, the field of activities for the conditioned soul can be compared to a playground in a backyard surrounded by a big fence. So the kshetra, or the field of activities for the jiva, can be compared to a playground. So there is some, see, remember we all have minute independence. So we have independence, but we have minute independence. So there is still some restriction. We are not completely restricted, but we have some restriction. So you can compare this to a playground within a fence. So if a child is playing inside this playground, he has his free will, minute independence, where he wants to play. He wants to play on the swing, he wants to play on the slide. Whatever he wants to play, he can play. He has that minute independence, but he cannot go out of this fence. He cannot go out of his fence. So like that, we have minute independence, and we also have restrictions. So the field of activities for the conditioned soul can be compared to a playground in a backyard surrounded by a big fence. The child playing in that yard has freedom to play as he wishes, but he cannot extend his pleasure beyond the allotted field. He is limited by the fence. Similarly, the living entity is limited by the interactions of his body, mind, and karma, which comprise his field of activities. Every body comes with its karma. No, so within a certain limit only we can enjoy. If it's not in the karmic balance of that person to enjoy great wealth, he is not going to be able to enjoy it. So like that, the living entity is limited by the interactions of his body. What is the kind of body he has? What is the kind of mind that he has? Because the mind has the impressions of his past life and karma, which comprise his field of activities. He knows nothing of life beyond the fence. Similarly, the living entity, according to the limitations of the body and mind he has received through his karma, cannot see beyond his limited field of activities. Every living entity's kshetra is arranged by karma. So what is the kind of body we are getting is arranged by our karma through the agency of Maya. So Maya arranges the kind of body that we get. Krishna therefore is not partial, because as the super soul, the knower of all the kshetras, the knower of all the bodies, he simply sanctions the awarding of each living entity's field of activities. So see, the Lord Krishna, he is only sanctioning the body that we are going to get. He has to sanction, because if he doesn't sanction, even a leaf cannot move without him sanctioning. So he sanctions it. Now, what is he sanctioning? That body that we are to get. Now, is he sanctioning that, okay, you get a healthy body, you get a diseased body because I favor you and I don't favor you? No. But somebody is getting a diseased body, somebody is getting a healthy body because of his past life karma. So that arrangement is made by material nature. Material nature is arranging the kind of body that we should get based on our karma. So what body we are getting, we are only responsible for that, because we have done those activities using our minute independence. Okay. So basically what is happening? The living entity desires, material nature makes the arrangement, and the Lord is sanctioning. See those. So what is the size of the field of activity? Now, how big is that fence? How much playground we are going to get? And where is the fence going to be placed? Is it going to be very small, medium, big, large, extra large? So what is the size of the field of activities? It is different for different living entities. Now, for an earthworm, he has a very small field of activities. Why? Because the earthworm, he cannot read, he cannot write, he cannot jump, he cannot run. He can only crawl through the dirt surface when it rains and crawl back into the soil when the rain stops. So the field of activity for an earthworm is very small. But for a dog, it is larger, because he can run, He can go here and there when it rains. He can look for shelter. No, he can run and he can go out in the sunlight, enjoy. But an earthworm cannot jump or run. So a dog has a relatively larger field of activities, and a human being still larger. A human being can even travel out of the country, go to another continent. Of course, the dog also can, but for that, the dog requires the assistance of another human being. But a human being, so therefore, a human being has a larger field of activities compared to the dog. The dog has a larger field of activity compared to the earthworm. So the size of the field of activities is different for different entities. So the jiva becomes so accustomed to the limitations of one's own body and mind that it develops the frog mentality. So see, we are so used to our kshetra, our body, the limitations of our body, that we are not able to understand that which is beyond this body. So we think that we are very smart. We human beings think that we are very intelligent, and therefore we think that whatever is in the Bhagavatam, for example. Now say Bhagavatam. The other day somebody was telling me that when you discuss Bhagavatam to somebody who is a non-devotee, because in the Bhagavatam there are things like somebody had 10,000 sons, or somebody went and meditated underwater for so many millions of years. They say, but this is like stories. These are just stories, because how is it possible for somebody to meditate underwater for millions of years? How is it possible for somebody to have 10,000 sons? How is it possible for somebody to live 100,000 years? Why? Because that person is trying to judge based on his own body, the limitations of his own body. So he's applying the rules and regulations of his kshetra, of his body, to everything else, everybody else, beyond all time, place, and circumstances. But we should understand that what happened in the previous yugas is different from what is happening in this yuga. What is happening to other living entities? They are far more advanced. They have breath control. They can control their breath for so many millions of years also, stay underwater for millions of years. It's because we cannot do it in this particular body. We think that nobody else can do it. No. So that is what is called as the frog mentality. The frog cannot accept any truth beyond the well. Similarly, one cannot see beyond one's own field of activity. Just because I have a body that cannot live for 10,000 years, that doesn't mean that people in the previous ages did not live for 10,000 years. So if I think like that, then it means I have the frog mentality. See, let's see a video. Short video.
The demons cannot understand that God can be a person. That is demonic. They cannot, because they cannot understand the difficulty. A demon tries to understand God comparing with him. Dr. Frog. That is the story of Dr. Frog.
Dr. Frog's thesis. Not far from the ocean, there lived a frog in a well. The frog was in fact born and brought up within the said well and never went outside it. Nevertheless, it was still a puffed up creature. I am the sole proprietor of the well. One day, another big frog from the seaside came across the well, and by chance it fell inside. There seems to be a new prey. Let me try on it. No, this is also a frog. The resident frog asked the newcomer, "Where do you come from?" "From the seaside." "How small is the sea compared to my well?"
Dr. Frog is trying to understand Atlantic Ocean, comparing with his 3 feet well. That's all. When he is informed that there is Atlantic Ocean, he is simply comparing with his limited space.
Ha ha ha. The sea is beyond any comparison with this well. Is it this large?
सर बंद करना यार, घड़ी घड़ी इधर खोले तो ही है।
It may be 4 feet, or it may be 5 feet, it may be 10 feet, because he is within 3 feet. His friend informed, oh, I have seen a reservoir of water, vast water. So that vastness is just conjecture. How much the vastness may be? My well is 3 feet. It may be 4 feet, 5 feet. Now he is going on. But he may go on millions and millions of feet, still is nothing. That he doesn't know.
This much big? Impossible. Nothing larger than this can exist. Please make an effort to look above this well and see how large the ocean actually is.
Therefore, atheistic persons demand, they think in their own way that God, Krishna may be like this, Krishna may be like this, Krishna may be like this. Generally they think that Krishna or I are the same. Krishna is not great. They do not believe that God is great. He thinks that God is as good as I am. I am also God. This is demonic.
Okay, so let's complete this fill in the blanks. Every living entity Kshetra is arranged by his dash. What comes here?
By karma.
Yes. Through the agency of? Who arranges that body? Through the agency
Krishna.
of?
Krishna.
No,
Krishna.
no. Krishna comes later.
Material
Through the agency of? Who arranges?
Material.
Krishna's material nature. Yes, very nice. Through the agency of material nature or Maya, Krishna therefore is not partial because as the dash, as the
Karma. As the
Super soul.
super soul, yes, the super soul, the knower of all kshetras, he simply dash the awarding of each living entity's field of activities. He simply
Approving.
approves, yes, very nice. Approves or sanctions the awarding of each living entity's field of activities. Okay. So living entity desires, material nature arranges, the Lord sanctions. So in the next class, we will see more. Krishna's going to talk more about jnana, more about knowledge. He has spoken about kshetra in detail. Next, he will speak about jnana. That we will see in the next class if Krishna so sanctions. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Do we have any questions or comments?
Mataji, when will the test be put up?
I think today. I think.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Mataji, in the slide before the 13.6, can we go there, please?
Yes. 1 second. Before 13.6. This one?
Yeah, just once, yeah. The gross body, yeah, that one. No, the one, yeah. The gross body is Anandamaya and Pranamaya, or is Annamaya and Pranamaya?
Oh, yes, you're right. I'm sorry. It's Annamaya.
No. It was just to clarify.
Good. So you hear and say very closely. Thank you. Yeah, you're right. Annamaya.
No, thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, then, since there are no questions or comments, I will see you all next week if Krishna so sanctions. Till then, have a nice weekend. Krishna consciousness. Vancha kalpataru vyascha, kripa sindhu vyayevacha, patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.